In a forgotten patch of garden behind an old countryside and where boots crusted with mud stomped daily past roots and weeds, there lived a flea named Ferox. He was by all measures a flea like any other, tiny, spring-loaded, and armed with a needle-thin mouth, built for sipping blood. But unlike the rest of his tribe, who leaped from tail to tail without a thought in their heads, Ferox had what could only be described as an affliction of the imagination, while others gorged and bred with the blank efficiency of instinct. Ferox perched often on the wiry hairs of a mutt named Bruno and stared out at the world with longing. Bruno was no majestic hound, just an old, flea-bitten beast with sagging jowls and eyes too wet to shine. But to Ferox, Bruno was a titan, a four-legged philosopher, a warm-blooded mountain, a creature so full of life he made the flea feel almost ashamed. For Ferox envied not just the dog's strength or size, but his purpose. Every day, Bruno herded chickens, barked at passing clouds, and received scratches from the innkeeper's daughter. Ferox, on the other hand, sucked blood in the shadows and dodged fingernails like divine wrath. He began to ask the unthinkable. What if he wasn't meant to be a flea? What if inside his six-legged frame beat the heart of a dog? At night, while the others slept between the fur folds, he listened to Bruno's dreams' low growls. Excited, Kixan imagined a world where he too ran across fields, not as a parasite, but as a friend. The elders laughed at him. A flea with the dreams of a dog is like a shadow that wants to cast light, said one. But Ferox did not laugh. He began skipping meals, storing energy not for hunger, but for something greater, because he had decided he would change. He would become, even if it killed him. Ferox's plan began with study. He observed Bruno with the focus of a poet dissecting the sun, catalogued every bark, every stretch, every tail wag. He tried to mimic the rhythm of his gait by bouncing across Bruno's spine with awkward, dog-like hops. The others watched in horror. "You'll alert the human," they hissed. "You'll get us all scratched to death." But Ferox did not care. He had a vision. He believed that behavior could change biology, that willpower could sculpt destiny. He began to mimic the growl of a dog, not in sound, for fleas are voiceless, but in vibration. He pulsed against Bruno's skin with rhythmic courage, hoping his presence would one day feel not like an itch, but like companionship. And then came the incident. One morning, Bruno was taken to the bath. It was a ritual Ferox feared more than death. The scalding water, the white chemical foam, the scrub that separated skin from soul. But this time Ferox did not run. He clung to Bruno's ear like a barnacle to a ship in a storm. This is what loyalty feels like, he thought, as soap stung his legs. The bath ended, and Bruno, confused but comforted, did not scratch. Ferox had survived, and something had changed. He no longer fed. His hunger was not for blood, but for belonging. One day the girl brushed Bruno's fur and paused. "There's something here," she said. Ferox felt her finger hover. But she did not flick. She did not pinch. She petted. "Psst. Must be a scab," she murmured. But Ferox knew better. He had ceased to be an invader. He had become part of the story. Weeks passed. Other fleas vanished, killed, starved, or swept away. But Ferox endured. It evolved, not in form, but in narrative. The innkeeper even remarked, "Bruno's scratching less these days." And Bruno, in his own dumb wisdom, wagged. Yet Ferox's triumph carried a shadow. He no longer felt at home among his own kind. Their bloodlust repulsed him. Their jokes rang hollow. He had become a stranger in both worlds, no longer flea, but not yet dog. A walking contradiction. A fragment of a dream stitched into the skin of reality. Like all dreams misaligned with nature, his was fated to confront the wall it could not leap. It happened during a storm. The sky cracked with thunder and the earth, drenched in rain, turned the inn into a damp cathedral of howls. Bruno was spooked more than usual. His limbs trembled, his eyes wild. The innkeeper had guests. The girl was nowhere. Ferox sensed panic blooming like mold. Something was wrong. Bruno bolted out the back gate, into the woods, into the storm. Ferox, clinging to a tuft behind the ear, held on like a sailor to a mast. Branches lashed, mud sprayed. They ran for what felt like hours. Finally, under a rotting log, Bruno collapsed. Whimpering, alone, Ferox too was exhausted. He had nothing left to give. He crawled onto Bruno's snout and looked down into those vast, trembling eyes, and something passed between them, not words, not thoughts, but the raw, shared pulse of creatures who had long ceased to be what they were born to be. Ferox knew what he had to do. He left the safety of the fur, walked across the snout, stood at the very tip of Bruno's nose, and leapt, not for escape, not for survival, but for signal. In the clearing, Ferox bounced as high as his tiny body allowed, flaring in and out of vision like a living spark. A distress call only the brave would notice. Hours passed. Then a lantern. A voice. Emma's voice. "Bruno," she cried. Bruno stirred, barked. The light grew closer. Ferox, soaked and shivering, returned to his place behind the ear. The girl arrived, knelt, hugged Bruno. "You idiot," she wept. "You scared me." Bruno licked her. The storm passed. Back at the inn, by the fire, Bruno curled into sleep. Ferox, in the folds of his fur, watched the flames with a contentment he had never known. He would never be a dog. Not truly. But he had saved one, not with teeth or bark, but with choice. With presence. With sacrifice. And in that choice, he had become something no flea had ever been before. Not a parasite, but a part of a pack. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough.